Hello, my name is Zinedine Bautista. I am majoring in computer science and attending the University of Advancing Technology. Now, the reason why I'm here is to showcase my project/product, which is a cookbook. Now, the reason why I'm guessing the audience is here is because they want to learn how to cook homemade meals. Whether you are a casual, I suppose, cook/chef who makes homemade meals from day to day, sometimes during the weekends or whatever time, or whether you are, I suppose, an expert chef that just wants to uh, go on and learn new recipes, or even if you are just a beginner, a very beginner chef who just or cooks that just wants to learn how to cook homemade meals. Well, in that case, this is the project/product for you. Now, first off, I want to go state a error or an issue as of now, which is that as of now, what was intended for this project was that it would use something called Apache Cordova to wrap the project, and through that, I would give it access to become cross-platform, making it so the user could get access to this cookbook, whether they're using Android, iOS, or really any other devices such as a computer, laptop, phone, or tablet. The problem with that, though, is that when I was running this through Android Studio, running it through a phone emulator, there was issues with the content resizing appropriately to the screen size. I was looking more and more into it, and it seemed like it was still a bit it was a fuzzy area on figuring out how to debug this, since originally, ever since the first week of programming this cookbook, I made sure that the content would adjust itself accordingly to the screen size. So I will there's that, but there's also a backup plan. There's a plan B, which was to turn this into a progressive web application, uh, which leads into the issue that Plan B was suffering, which was I was using Firebase, which is I suppose a Google website hosting service, and GoDaddy, where I bought a domain for the cookbook. And through those two, I had to wait to receive authorization, and have my website, my progressive website application, be certified. The problem with that, though, is I haven't gotten word on any of that, which led to Plan C, which was to use something called Netfly, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was pronounced Netfly. Well, I was using that, which was another website hosting service in which it would be instant. I wouldn't have to go through authorization or some sort of certificate. It would just give you the ability to host a website, which I did run through that. Problem with that, though, was there was an issue. There kept an issue kept erupting on the content, as the service would pull out all the HTML and CSS, but for some reason would leave behind the JavaScript content. So it would just be a site with all the HTML, all the CSS, but the entire JavaScript content would gone, which is very unfortunate because the cookbook itself does run on JavaScript files. But really, this obstacle, it would be will disappear, as really the only solution is just the waiting game, as I wait for GoDaddy and Firebase, Google hosting service, to authorize and certify my project, which in that case I would definitely give it before this Thursday for it to be authorized or certified. But uh, how long would it take for a user, any other user, to gain access to this project or product? Well, all they would have to do, or all you would have to do, is just enter a URL, just like any other URL you would put on a day-by-day basis. And as I stated previously, this would work under any operating system in any device. So as I mentioned, if you're running on Android, if you're running on iOS, if you're using a computer, phone, laptop, a tablet, you have no worries. You have access to this cookbook. Now, what will you, the audience, gain from this presentation? First off, I'm going to drink some water since I'm a little bit have a little bit of a dry throat. Sorry for the water break. It's always important to stay hydrated. But anyways, what will the audience gain from this presentation? Well, simply put, uh, the audience would gain a the audience slash user would gain more knowledge into on the project and product itself. They would gain more knowledge on cooking meals. As I should mention mentioned, as of now there are 15 recipes and more coming as time goes on. But going back to the other question on what the audience would gain from this presentation, uh, besides the recipes, another thing the audience here could learn is, I suppose, putting a project or product through cross development and making it more available to everyone, no matter the operating system or no matter the device, or go into creating a progressive website application. Now, a question that I've already answered, which is what does the application do, is that it's a cookbook. If you want to cook something, with if you have any interest in one of the recipes that are provided within the cookbook as of now, which as I mentioned before, more are coming as time goes on. But if you want to cook a certain meal from the 15 items, then this site would give you first off it has an about section just to inform you on the cookbook in general. Below there is a button for safety cooking precautions. There will also be a a YouTube video of Gordon Ramsay providing cooking tips and techniques. And then below that is actually a embedded SoundCloud soundtrack of Brazilian jazz, because I thought, hey, while the user is cooking their or preparing their food, whether it be their ingredients or cleaning up the kitchen surfaces or actually just stirring their stews or whatnot, I thought to myself, what if the user listened to some calming music, some calming music as they prepare for a good meal. And then below that is the actual cookbook recipes with the 15 listed products where the user can navigate on which food product they want to prepare. And also there is a quiz provided, just so the user can, test their knowledge in these uh, meals and how to prepare them and how many and their ingredients. And then finally, there's a content section where you can reach me through LinkedIn, GitHub, my email, and there's also my phone number and an address. And if by chance you need a more visual interpretation of my address, for what reason that may be, there is a Google Maps API, or a Google, which is basically just a little section of the content cut out for a Google Maps, where you can just navigate and give you a better idea of the address. Now, the people who add value to this project is the people who want to cook, the people who want more, uh, the people who want to, specifically the people who want to learn how to cook. Obviously, you have your head chefs and your people who make meals, homemade meals on a casual basis. But the people who really add value to this project are the people who are starting fresh, the people who want to learn how to just make a homemade meal, and who want to develop either a hobby or an interest, or simply they just want to learn how to make homemade meals. Why does this application add value? Well, as stated before, it's for beginners. I would personally say that this is more for beginners. This is for the people who previously had no knowledge in cooking, but really just want to get into cooking as from for whatever reason that may be, whether it be hobby, interest, they just want to learn how to make a homemade meal, or any of that. And how does my project add value? Well, it's first off, as I mentioned before, once the timing issue is resolved, it's open to everyone, no matter the device, no matter the operating system, and it's here to provide knowledge and information towards users. It's here for users to learn a very valuable skill, which is homemade cooking. Because even though we have restaurants and whatnot, homemade cooking is a very important meal. Uh, uh, a very important skill. And who knows? Maybe if you do get a hang of making homemade meals, you might yourself create a have your own restaurant chain and create and actually become a very successful cook or chef. Now, the innovation slash different is di- um, how mine is more different to the ones already available in the market is that this one's a lot more. I suppose I wouldn't not it's not really not the word user friendly I'm looking for, but more user. It provides more comfort to the user. Obviously, it is user friendly as it's not really good for a cookbook to not be user friendly, but it's it provides a lot more comfort to the user. There's a video of Gordon Ramsay providing you tips and techniques, and a lot of people know Gordon Ramsay, and there's a little bit more kind of entertainment sprinkled around the cookbook with the Gordon Ramsay YouTube video. There's a button that directs you to safety cooking precautions to make sure you prevent yourself from getting a foodborne illness. There's also, as I mentioned before, a embedded soundtrack of soothing Brazilian jazz. So as you either read the recipe or actually on your process of making a meal, you can listen to some smooth Brazilian jazz as you cut your onions, cook your steak, or wash your kitchen knife. And also, if by chance you just aren't, if there's also, as I mentioned before, a quiz. So if you don't feel as comfortable yet, you can take the quiz to kind of you can actually have the quiz more of a as a test on whether you are ready for the actual cooking process. What is the user experience like? Well, I guess the best way to answer on what the user experience is like is by simply actually showcasing the project. So let me just open that up. Let me take another water break. Okay, so first off, you have a background image of some food dishes. Kind of just, I guess, visually stimulate your brain. Kind of give your kind of give you a good idea on what you could cook, what you're going to cook in the future. You're going to be able to cook these delicious meals. Uh, as here, it's just the title of the project as of now. It's just my first and last name, and then just cookbook. But I am thinking about renaming it to something else. Don't know what, but I'll rename it. Give it a more unique name to it. Above here, you have a navigation. So let's just say you want to go to a specific section of the cookbook, the about, the video player, the cooking music, the cookbook itself, the quiz, or the content, you can just press any of these navigation tabs, and it will directly take you to that section of the cookbook. There's also a return to top button in case, I suppose, if you're, let's say, at the quiz section of the cookbook, and I suppose if your cursor is closer to this side of the screen, you can just click this to return to top. Up here, scrolling down, you have the About section of the cookbook. Over here, as I mentioned before, it's simply just kind of an introduction on what this online cookbook is, and kind of what this online cookbook is about. Over here, you have a button which states "Click for safety information," so you can click this, which will provide you cooking food safety precautions to prevent yourself from getting ill. Because the last thing you want when you're done eating a delicious meal is salmonella or any other foodborne illness. So as you can see here, kind of has a numbered list of things you can do to kind of help yourself from being safe and healthy while cooking. And then you can click here to just close out of this pop-up. Down here, you have the also, as you can see, some of the text here has kind of some animations here, just to, I suppose, add a little entertainment to it, I guess. But over here, we have the cookbook video recommendation, which is 10 incredibly useful cooking tips by Gordon Ramsay. So, if you were to click this video, it should play.
First up, the proper way to chop fresh herbs to get maximum flavour.
And again, it'll pause the video, and if you have the video pause down here, it will give you a list on more videos you can click from Gordon Ramsay himself. Whether you want whether you just want to watch more Gordon Ramsay videos, because for entertainment purposes, or maybe you just want more tips, skills, and techniques from an expert, then you can go on and click more videos once you're done with this one. Oh, and if you click here, it will it will just redirect you to the actual YouTube website. Now, next thing is the music soundtrack for cooking. As I mentioned before, the online cookbook has a embedded soundtrack. So while you're cooking, you might as well listen to something calming and soothing as you prepare yourself for a very delicious meal. As I mentioned before, this is Brazilian smooth jazz, and I will play a little snippet just to get you a better idea on what you will listen to once when you're becoming a chef. If you click it again, it pauses it, and you can either, whether you want to go to SoundCloud, or you just want to, you can press the X. You can go, if you want, you can go to anywhere. Soundtrack, so maybe we'll go to timestamp 133. Also, if you pause, you could go to other albums here. Okay, now is the actual cookbook itself. Now, over here on the left, you have the 15 recipes. You have beef stew, homemade pizza, cheese grits, beef stroganoff, smothered pork chops, French onion soup, turkey turkey tetrazzini, buffalo mac and cheese, pot chicken noodle soup, chicken spinach and artichoke lasagna, pot beef chili, cheese manicotti, fried lasagna, pizza pot pie, and shrimp fettuccine alfredo. So let's say you want to make some shrimp fettuccine alfredo. You can go, once you click on any of these recipes, if you go back to the right side of the cookbook, you have the first off the title of your recipe, and you have the ingredients. So as you scroll down here, you can see the ingredients for each recipe. And then if you keep scrolling down, you have an image here, right? You have an image of the food recipe that you're about to cook, just to get you maybe a better visualization on what you're about to cook, and just to add a little bit more visual stimuli to the cookbook. And then if you keep scrolling down, you have the steps, which are the actual directions on how to cook each recipe. Now, continuing to go downward, you have the cookbook quiz, where you can test your cooking skills with this quiz. Now, over here, as you can see, there's a scoreboard which will tell you how many questions you got correct and how many you've got incorrect. And over here, you have your question 1: how many chopped onions do you need for the beef stew? Now, obviously, you could scroll up, go to the beef stew, and check how many chopped onions you need. 1 chopped onion. And you can scroll down here and click on the right answer, 1, and then you get your correct. You got the first question right. But it's best to try your best not to go to the actual cookbook. Instead, if you're going to do the quiz, just do the quiz without trying to, I suppose, use your cheat sheet. How many cups of all-purpose flour do you need for the homemade pizza? If I remember correctly, it should be 3. Yep, it's 3. And if you can keep going on, keep doing the quiz until you get to the 15th question, as there's 15 questions in this quiz. And keep scrolling down to the last section, which is the content section. As I mentioned before, here is the GitHub icon and the LinkedIn icon. If you click on those, it will direct you to my GitHub account and my LinkedIn account. Over here, you have my address, where I suppose you can email, or I mean not email, I guess you can send something, or unless you want to knock on my door for whatever reason that may be. Over here, you have my email, which if you click it, it will actually open up the email service. Over here is my phone number. If you just want to call or send me a message on maybe some other food dishes you want to see inside the online cookbook. And over here you have the Google Maps, just to get you a better idea streetwise on the location. So if you really want to know where I live, and you just want to knock on my door and tell me that you just really want this specific food dish, well then just head down here, look at the address, turn on satellite to get a better visualization of where I live, I suppose. And you can just zoom in, scroll here. If you want a 3D imagery of where I live, just get that yellow guy. And there you have it. This is where I live. So now you can really if you're just a major fan of a specific food dish, let's say New York cheesecake, then you can just and you really want New York cheesecake, the recipe for New York cheesecake to be on this online cookbook, just head down to my address and knock on my door. Granted, you would need to find on which dorm I live, but that information will not be provided for safety and privacy reasons. But that is all for this video demo. I hope everybody here is having a good day and staying safe and healthy during this pandemic. And I will now be open for the Q&A.